So the last thing we're going to get to here is just moving forward with free agents, extensions, the draft. It's really hard to figure Andrew Berry out. You know, we think we thought we knew who he was when he got here based on who he'd worked with and Paul DePodesta being in the building and all that kind of stuff. But I do think last year taught us that the Berry, like, he wasn't going to go big on a deal like the parent edge with Garrett. He got Clowney at a nice price. He got McKinley at an affordable price. Like I mentioned, JJ3, not breaking the bank on that signing. You got good value there. On the other side of the ball, though, there have been some big deals like Hooper, Conklin, Teller, Batonio, Chubb, the tag on the Njoku. Like the Browns now have 2 tight ends in the top 6 in salary for 2022. That's why they're ranked so high. So tight end is the only position out of that group, though, that you'll find in the top 5 WAR rankings that we talked about. But even that is typically 5th. There's a couple other versions I found that it's basically the same to what PFF had, but tight end is usually about 5th. So we'll get more info, obviously, on how Berry wants to spend in free agency here next week when the new league year begins, and free agents can sign or teams can re-sign their guys. But so far, Berry hasn't really thrown big money at the position seen as having the biggest impact on wins and losses. And some of that is due to a lack of opportunity, though, because like we said, he inherited 2 wide receivers with big contracts.
Yep.
So he hasn't had to sign one. He inherited a quarterback that has yet to play at a consistent level that would lead to a big contract. He inherited cornerbacks and drafted another on rookie deals, right? So it remains interesting to me, though, that like players like Chubb, Teller, Batonio have gotten extensions before the quarterback and the cornerback that you would think they would want to build around. It's a little different than what analytics might say you should be spending your money on first. But as we know, the Browns are kind of going their own path here, especially on offense in terms of who they want to throw money at. So I did want to get into the draft because last year the Bengals created a debate about positional value.
Yep.
Their choice seemed to come down to wide receiver or offensive tackle, right? Jamar Chase, who they drafted 5th overall, or somebody like Penny Sewell, who went 2 picks later to the Lions. Like, do you get Joe Burrow a weapon or somebody to protect Joe Burrow? So similarly, the Browns this year seem to be faced with a decision of wide receiver or defensive line, at least if you go by the majority of mock drafts. So it's, do you help Baker Mayfield or do you help Myles Garrett? You know, do you get somebody to play opposite him? Do you get somebody who can play next to him and make him more dangerous, make the line more dangerous? Like the Bengals went with Chase and the Bengals reached the Super Bowl. Also, Joe Burrow got sacked 70 times.
And it didn't matter. And it didn't matter.
I know 25% of Burrow's pressures came via the left tackle spot. So, but if you look at the WAR rankings, like this should be a simple decision. You take a wide receiver at 13. They impact winning and losing more than an edge or defensive tackle. If you want to be cost effective, you also take a wide receiver because edge, wide receiver, and defensive tackle are all cost effective picks in the first round. They're ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 4th among NFL salaries as a group. But as we've shown here, and I know some people don't totally agree with it, but edge and defensive tackle aren't going to impact winning the way a wide receiver does, especially not now, the way the NFL works and how big a deal passing offenses are. But we saw last year, like with the Browns, a team that targets wide receivers less than any other team, how poor wide receiver play can really drown an offense. And I know Baker played into that, but wide receivers were like just a low efficiency group last season for the Browns. And the offensive struggled. The year before, wide receivers didn't get targeted much at all then either. They were one of the most efficient groups in the league, and the offense had a lot of success because of it. So, I mean, there are good analytical reasons for why taking a wide receiver is the smart choice in the first round. But we'll have to see what happens. I'm not here to make predictions. Plus, it's good to remember that I know a lot of people think of the draft and they think, well, they got to get a guy who can help them this year. You're focused on this year, but it's getting a guy who you're going to pay for the next at least 4 years. Yep. And making sure that that person isn't you want to be cost effective with who you pick. So, you know, It's thinking about, all right, yeah, we'll get him as a rookie and say he comes in and he's our starter wide receiver, but then we're, we get him for 3-4 more years. There's an option year. You could have the best receiver on your team still being on your rookie deal. And that's really, I think, the hope of anybody really with any draft pick.